Hello, my fellow devotees and all you beautiful newcomers out there. Welcome to the premiere of the Chat Time with Mr. Indie segment here on the Indie Devotee Show, where I, Mr. Indie, come off the script, maybe have a few notes with me, but ultimately just take the time to just throw a topic on the table, whether it be a first impressions or a deeper discussion by myself, with friends, or maybe in the future, even with you, the viewers, and just lay it all out there. Just put it all bare and naked. And that actually sounds kind of creepy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make that sound weird. But yeah, this is just pure 110% as always as it is, but now just without a script to back me up. Mr. Indie just talking to you guys about something, anything that I want to talk about. And today my topic of discussion is Double Cross from 13 AM Games. This is my first impressions of this title so far. And for those of you real quick who aren't familiar with 13 AM Games, they are the developers of Runbow, a game that I do believe I own on my Wii U, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I bought it when they confirmed that Shantae was going to be in that game, because I love Shantae, I love platformers, and I'm like, oh my god, I really want to play this game now, and I just don't think I ever got around to playing it, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself for that. I'm gonna make that a mission. I'm gonna make that a mission to do that, to sit down and play that game in the future. But right now we're focusing on Double Cross and what my thoughts are of this game, and I can start by telling you right now, the first thing that pulled me into this game was that Saturday morning vibe that it gave me from the entire visual aesthetic and presentation of it. The vibe it gave off was just like, yes, this is just like taking me back to when I was like 7, 8, 9, and I just had the Batman animated series and Animaniacs, the Sonic Sat AM cartoon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that cool stuff, X-Men, Spider-Man, all that. I was just like, oh my goodness, it looks so adorable, it looks so cool, and I want to play this game now. And it was just the one big thing that drew me in, and I was right. It literally has that Saturday morning cartoon adventure type feel going for it, where you're on this wacky adventure where you're going to these different multiverse worlds where there's so many alternate Earths, where there's like one where goop is like all over the place and it can be used to do different platforming, from like sticking to walls or bouncing off of it or making you go faster or on traction. There's another one where dinosaurs never went extinct and they just completely took over the world, and they're super intelligent and they have these factories. And then there's another one where robots completely took over and I think wiped out humanity, and it's just like got this whole neon lights with trees and signs and little references here and there. And I was like, oh my god, it looks so awesome. Like, I can't wait to traverse through these different areas. And what surprised me is that despite that there's only 3 areas in the game, each one comes with its own unique flavor each time you go back. Like I said, there's always a new platforming segment, a little neat little trick or a little set piece that just makes you, it just feels like you're visiting a completely different world and you're just coming back for the first time. And I love that. I love that they threw in all these neat little platforming segments and different challenges and obstacles within each different mission you progress into that just never made anything feel dull. They'll throw in stuff from previous parts of the level, but they just offer new challenges that keep everything feeling entertaining, fresh and new, and just add their own flavor to it. And I really, really enjoyed that. The character Zara, who you control, I really dug just how tight and responsive the controls were to movement. Like jumping, platforming, using the grapple hook to zip and fling myself to different platforms just felt very rewarding and satisfying. Even if it did feel at times that Zara was just a little too heavily in momentum. Like, there would be times where I would make jumps and it felt like I would just nearly either overshoot or completely overshoot my platforms. I'm sorry, platforms. And it could just be me maybe it's just me holding on to the control stick a little bit too much, and maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but it just felt like there were a little bit of a few times where Zara would just nearly almost overshoot certain platforms, and I had to readjust myself. But the controls, for the most part, are perfectly fine. I never felt like she was completely out of my control, or that they were just completely too slippery when landing or stopping or attacking and performing combos. Like, the combat in this game, despite it being very basic, there are some extra layers as you level her up, where you can get extra combos or more health, or you can perform different abilities like dodging at right times to avoid attacks and then continuing on your combos from there, or getting an extra shield that stops projectiles. You can use the grapple hook to not only reach grapple points, but you can also grab projectile attacks, certain projectile attacks I should stress, from enemies, and fling them at other enemies or back at the enemy that shot them. And it's just a very satisfying, solid platforming game. Like, it doesn't do necessarily anything that I can say is super original, aside from the own level designs having their own originality and flavor, as I mentioned before. It's not completely by the numbers as far as platformers go in that regard, but it's very basic, and it's a fully comfortable adventure too. Like, even if you fall off a platform, you're just thrown right back to a checkpoint. It's like, oh, well, you screwed up. Let's just put you right back here so you can start over again. And it never felt too demanding or too stressful. When you do perform grapple platforming, you have just enough time to adjust the angle that you're going to be throwing yourself, and sometimes there'll be grapple points that will fling you in a certain direction. Like, you'll see the arrow, it's like, okay, this will shoot you up, or this one will shoot you diagonally or vertically or whatever. And it just felt like a completely comfortable and enjoyable experience that I think anybody, even if you're new to platformers, can easily get into and just have a good time with. And I would have appreciated just a little bit more challenge. I almost kind of wanted to up the difficulty, because I felt like some parts were just a little bit too easy, and I felt like it maybe should have punished me just a little bit more for making some of the mistakes I made, especially repeated mistakes that I knew were my fault. But at the same time, I understand that they don't want to make something that's like too difficult, that's like making you want to pull your hair out. And it's just the right, personally, I feel the right degree of balance to get people adjusted. And it does become a little bit more challenging with different obstacles and enemies and stuff that either hit harder or really test your thoughts on how you're going to complete this particular challenge or reach this upgrade that might be over here as you go along. And I really enjoy that. Like, generally speaking, I'm just really enjoying going through Double Cross. And so far, I'm about halfway done. I still have 6 more missions to complete, 2 for each world, unless there's like an extra final level that I have to go through. And I don't think I've run across like any big bosses. Usually it's just been rooms that lock up and they just throw a certain number of mooks at you and you take them out and keep on going forward. But I haven't run across any like big bosses yet that just like, oh, okay, this is clearly a boss. Like, this is clearly meant to be an imposing like type enemy that I face. And maybe I'll face those at the end of each world. I would have liked if they would have thrown a few more bosses in there, but you know, I'm not gonna cry over spilled milk, because the main focus of this is just to be a fun, engaging, and very addictive platformer, and it's definitely succeeding for me in that regard. It really is something that I wasn't expecting, and just been having a pretty good time with it. The graphics, like I said, are very Saturday morning cartoon. The soundtrack is pretty banging as well. They've got a lot of funky, jazzy, rockin' tunes that have a lot of atmosphere to them as well. Like when you first go to the Firebrand factory in Reptaria, you can clearly feel like it's got that like mechanic vibe to it. Like you feel like you're in this huge industrial factory, but it's something that you can like bang your head to a little bit. Like you can move your shoulders, bob from side to side. You're like, yeah, I can really get into this. And Thunderdome, like, oh my god, the jazzy, funky beats in Thunderdome just like was like, mwah, I love it. It's so good. and I can't think of too many things I can go too deep into right now. I kind of want to save a lot more of my thoughts for a full dedicated video for this game, but I can certainly recommend it just off this first impressions video. I can definitely recommend this to people who maybe just be jumping into their first platformer or anything. It's a platforming game for all ages, I feel. And even with its writing, it's very clever, very witty. The character growth and the interactions that Zara have with the different friends that she has in Rift, the one that she makes with the big tentacle alien creature that she captured early on that just mistakenly walked through a portal and found out that the humans that saw it were just completely terrified. He's actually just really nice and just completely misunderstood because of the different worlds that people come from in this game. Like, everyone comes from a different alternate Earth that just has a completely different circumstance, and I like the way that they touched base on those things. It really just made this world feel bigger than what it could be, than what you see on just the 3 levels alone. You feel like there's just so many worlds out there, and even when Zara comes in contact with her doppelganger, I liked that she just contemplated over it. Like, she was just thinking, like, is this what I could have been? Like, is this just a really alternate me? Is this what I could have ended up being like? And even though it is obviously more of a kid-friendly story, it has a good bit of maturity to it that really does make you think. It doesn't insult the intelligence of its players, whether they be younger or older players like myself. It really does have a good bit of clever writing to it that I really enjoy and definitely want to experience more of, even if I do feel it is very by the numbers in terms of the main focal point of the plot with Suspect X. I kind of already feel like I know who the traitor could be, and maybe I could be wrong, but I just feel like it's just kind of pointing me in that direction. Like, yeah, I kind of already know who it is. But you know what? I'm enjoying my adventure through it, and it's not really a big deal to me. But yeah, Double Cross, really good, very solid platforming game. Definitely want to finish it, and hopefully I'll have my full thoughts out for you guys before this week concludes. And I also apologize if I sound like a little hoarse. I think I did come down with a bit of a cold over the weekend, but hopefully I'll recover soon, and that won't be much of an issue for too long. Anyway, I shall now send you all to the end title proper. And if you want to support the Indie Devotee Show, stay tuned to figure out how you can subscribe and all the different avenues that you can go through to help support my channel and help it to grow. That's going to just about wrap it up for today's episode of the Indie Devotee Show. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. And if you enjoyed this, please go ahead and drop a like on the video by hitting that thumbs up at the bottom. And let's get some conversations going down in the comment section. I want to know what your thoughts are of Double Cross. If you've enjoyed it so far, have you beaten it? What are your full thoughts on it? Or, you know, to any particular area that you really enjoyed, a particular world that you loved, a character that you really thought was really cool or really funny, anything that you want to share, go ahead and tell me how you're feeling down in the comment section below. If you're new here and you want to become a devotee, please hit that subscribe button and then ring that bell to receive notifications for newly released episodes. Follow me at any of the highlighted social media pages listed here. I'll leave links down in the description below. Did you miss an episode or maybe want to check out another playlist? Go ahead and click onto one of the 2 tabs. That's all for now, folks. God bless, take care, and I'll catch you in the next exciting episode of the Indie Devotee Show. Until then, take care and have a great day.
That's a wrap.